What is that?
This is one of the finest innovations from Zurich. Removes all pain.
Now, normally guys like me, we have to turn to booze, the morphine, and that can lead to addiction. Oh, that's fast. That is advanced.
Rolling sound. Okay, ready, camera? Marker. We're ready, and action.
Burt Berenson is a doctor, but he's on the fringe, and he's helping everybody who's sort of on the fringe and can't get help. And his best friend, Harold Woodman, is an attorney. They are the place of last resort. If you have trouble, you go to these guys. They're brought together and through a war, and they meet this remarkable woman. It becomes a bond for life. As a writer, I get to tell that story and imagine that story of the love of these people who dare to live in spite of all the obstacles. And Christian was right there with me as I was writing it and rewriting it and seeing every draft.
I really love the films that we've been lucky enough to make together, and then you've gotten to know each other better throughout. So this is by far the process that I was most involved with.
You want to do just something silent, me standing at the microphone, just looking out?
With someone I spoke to for years about these roles. We would meet regularly for breakfasts at a diner. We would just keep talking about it.
We would just sit and go through tons of ideas, and he would give me books and I would find ideas and I'd bring him quotes, and we would watch documentaries on jazz for ages.
He's a great muse. He knew exactly how he wanted to play the part. He knew how he wanted to look, and it's a conversation that goes through the whole preparation and writing process for years.
That's when you live. That's when you live the most, because you're truly living for the day.
When you prep for that long, oh man, it's just in your bones. So it's a really, really satisfying experience.
I started talking to David about the character years ago, so I had a long time to prep for Valerie, and her real passion in life is to find beauty and make art out of trauma.
So we'll make a pact. You see to it that we won't die, and I'll make sure you won't get killed. Knowing who was a part of this, Christian Bale, Margot Robbie, those are two actors that I've been watching them for years, and to transform into, to disappear into character work is something captivating. So the prospect of working with them, in all honesty, was very attractive.
All right, that's a cut on that.
You sang a song. You should remember the song. I'd like you to sing it now, then I'll know it's you.
Did you ever see a dream?
Walking. Oh, I did.
Oh, no, that's not it.
What David did is he wove in these fictional characters into a factual event from American history, which was one thing that we always enjoyed doing.
You're soldiers. You sacrificed your lives, your limbs.
Smedley Butler is the inspiration for General Dillenbeck, the most decorated Marine, and then who then came to believe war is a racket. He had absolutely done everything for his country, but came to believe that he had essentially just been a hired thug for big business.
I'm about to do something that could cost me my life.
And it was a true moment in American history where people tried to subvert democracy and overthrow the government.
There's a lot of history that people don't know that's in this movie that they're going to want to go look up. It blows people's minds. And that's a great thing for a filmmaker to have.
Okay, ready, and background, and action.
I don't think they have the ability to possess the admiration or the confidence to wear the uniform.
Who are we talking about?
And then the 369th Regiment, the Harlem Hellfighters, who were some of the absolute best fighters and went through hell on Earth, but then were treated absolutely despicably by their own country.
I don't care if they're veterans, they cannot come here. And you're taking too much morphine. You stay away from my daughter.
3, 2, 1, go.
This relationship, probably the most important thing in my life. The heart of it is these three friends who are forged in this great arena of war and the tragedy in that, and who make a pact that they will always look out for each other no matter what.
Christian plays a role that we've never seen him play before, the creation of Burt Berenson, someone you can fall in love with who's funny, charming, and struggling.
Now, do you like that bit if I go and say that thing, or no? Should we keep it here?
Christian has a tremendous magic and commitment. He embraces a voice, he embraces a posture, he has a back brace on during the whole movie. I mean, he's a master at creating what he does.
He's somebody who's been through hell, but he's a real optimist.
I know benefactors in a hospital in Amsterdam. They'll give you a new eye.
Amsterdam?
These guys came back, as any veteran knows, from that war, and, you know, people didn't want to see him on the street. They looked different. And me and Christian spent a lot of time talking about that. Any help you could get on your face or your eye or your back or your, you know, great, please let me have it. I want to try to live as much as I can.
I always remember this story from my grandmother who lived through the Blitz in London. She liked to talk about how it was the best time of her life. You'd think it would be the worst time, but no, it was, as she said, it was truly living for the day. So that really informed me.
Seeing the transformation of Christian Bale, obviously it's what he does. This is his calling card. He just disappears. In fact, I don't think I met him, Christian Bale, until we wrapped.
So now we have to lie to get into this guy's house.
Had more time than any film I've ever been involved in to prep him and get him ready and get used to mannerisms and such. Just that I wasn't even really familiar I was doing it anymore. How are we looking? Good.
I was first going through France a couple of years ago. I had to stab a guy. I had to hit a lady with a brick one time.
What?
Margot is a force of nature, and she is many of the things that are in her character. You know, Valerie Vose is independent and brave. She knows how to have a great time. She knows life is for love. Margot Robbie's character is inspired by many amazing real women from this era who were groundbreaking artists, groundbreaking world travelers, who left their homes, went to care for people during the war, but also became artists. She has the attributes of many women who went to serve and take the bloody metal out of men, and many women who then created art that had never been invented in the world before this war.
David's biggest talent is creating characters who are so specific and strange, but really endearing. His process is totally unique. The character and the story and everything just evolves.
Margot was in the process with me for at least 4 years, I think we were talking, in a constant dialogue about this character. And so she was there through the writing process, and we would just keep talking about it.
All I'm saying is as long as he's not already gone up by the time we finished our dialogue.
Getting to know Margot and seeing how what she brought to the character. She represented that optimism. She represented hope. She represented the freedom for Harold that I think he thought might have been unattainable.
John David Washington is an extremely special soul and an extremely special actor. What really introduced me to him was BlacKkKlansman. I had the privilege to help promote that film, and that's how I met John David Washington, was during those events. And I saw his soul in that movie. And when you get him to laugh, you get him to be warm and in love, it's like the sun comes out.
Once I was able to get a hold of the script and realizing it was a period piece, I was like, oh, 1918, 1933. I immediately started to think, as I was reading it, like, what would that feel like for an African-American in those times? I was really excited about being able to get to do some research about that and really investigating what it means to be a war veteran.
Why are we wearing French uniforms?
The American soldiers, they don't want to be seen with us.
Harold has been told, if you go to war, you'll be honored more. You'll have more respect in this country when you come back. And of course, that's not quite the deal, as with many veterans, that they're given. They were fighting 2 wars, you know, one for the actual war in World War I in Europe and one for themselves to earn dignity and respect as Americans.
I felt the importance of the story with the more research I was doing and finding out the environment and the feelings of the soldiers back then. It was great to find and great to really dive into. Now that the war is over, I just want to be a person, you know? I just want to walk around free. There's this phrase, double victory. A lot of soldiers came back and they feel like they win the war, they win their civil rights. The soldiers felt like they were going to have more impact on their own country in a positive way. They found out that wasn't the case. I wanted to become a lawyer to fight for people like those soldiers back at home. Find Harold taking action in the way of law. And this notion of double victory could be achieved through litigation, through the law. Playing a lawyer really challenged me in ways I didn't anticipate. I'm thinking about my ancestors. I thought about my grandfather a lot, and how he paralleled to this Harold character and how what being an American felt like, you know, what freedom felt like. I thought that was very important and heavy as well. You have a claim. We're gonna take care of you. The good doctor and I will take good care of you.
John David Washington, he was so fun to act with, very funny, very smart. He was like my rock, so sweet, so humble. It was really special working with him. It was so fun.
Truth is possible. And I think that love, maybe, is even possible. And this pill is working.
All these actors just were fantastic, just went with it, got it, you know. It was just such a wonderful team.
Pull back to everybody laughing. And get them laughing, get Chris laughing. All right, so let's The reality of the characters in the worlds that I get to make with my collaborators are funny because of how committed they are to who they are. All of these characters are funny, while also being real. rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. We win. I win. You got to shoot right now.
The way David works is he's got like all these ideas or satellites going around.
What's up?
David O. Russell, he's so passionate, insistent upon you understanding that it's wide open, this world, and the possibilities are endless when it comes to the interpretation of a story like this.
33rd and the other thing, and I also say some other words. These are all characters that I had so much fun creating.
He loves his characters and his words, but if he had to choose, I think he chooses the actors. I think he chooses the performer's interpretation of his words and of the story.
So pull him in tight.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll pull him in tight.
David is always really tickled by people. He's often just kind of busting up by himself over things that people are saying, and he's got a real great sense of humor and a love of people. The humor comes out of that, out of the real people and the situations that they're in.
There's humor in real human behavior. And I think that's just in life. You have to be open to that and like, don't play the comedy necessarily. Don't go for punchlines. It's almost like what's funny is usually surprises you. You don't anticipate the funny.
The place looks the same. It smells of mothballs like your marriage.
Thanks, pal.
I always thought this world was beautiful from hearing about it from my older relatives. The world is luscious and precise. It takes specific people to create a living world.
We were shooting in Los Angeles, but as New York.
I just feel like I was totally transported into a time of 1918.
There's something that's twisted. Has something to do with all this.
It felt bloody easy on this because Judy Becker, who's David's regular set designer, made just, beautiful sets.
She is an artist in her own right. Judy creates beautiful worlds. You want to go inside the world and you want to learn about it. She does it Judy's way, and it's her signature, the way she makes something beautiful.
We do that one, or...
Yeah, we do a familiar one.
I would do the green, no?
Green's the one.
All right.
The wardrobe is the person. And you always have to have a love affair with the wardrobe. Jared Hawbaker creates an incredible look that when people see the movie, they say to me, I want Valerie's clothes, I want her accessories, and Jared Hawbaker created those clothes. She made everything beautiful. Every character had their own look.
Putting on that coat and some of the uniforms felt very empowering.
Someone like Valerie, who's very dramatic and very artistic and very dark. I loved getting to explore that kind of strong look. Trousers and capes and top hats, things like that. It looks spectacular, and JR, she's such a rock star. She's so good.
And tell me when you're ready, Chivo.
Ready.
Rotate into dialogue. Chivo Emmanuel Lubezki, the cinematographer, was my first privilege to ever get to work with him. And he's a great filmmaker and artist, and extremely specific about how the walls should almost always be darker than the faces of the actors, and how the camera moves and what it looks like. And it will enchant you and envelop you. And this is Chivo. And no one has done this as Chivo has. So it makes you want to try harder. It makes you want to make something more beautiful. But he's also fun to collaborate with.
These feel really good, like that. Okay.
Chivo, my goodness. I mean, when you stepped on set, anything's on. We might be in rehearsal, he's shooting. He's always rolling. He was so present and yet disappeared, all in the same way.
He's on the screen, and so is him talking to the other people.
I think that's better.
And
like seeing himself.
Yeah, seeing himself. And sometimes he's by himself, and sometimes it's just the vignette.
We've worked together 2 or 3 times, and he's great. He's such a good collaborator, and he really gets involved in the story, like he's very hands-on. He's such a part of the whole filmmaking process.
We start with them, so we don't burn their singing in their back.
Okay.
So just gleeful when it goes well, and like a vision's been popping up from behind the camera. And she's going, come on, my God, and he's almost crying with joy over great shots. He's a real artist and a real joy to have around. The satisfaction of seeing something from the absolute birth of sitting in a greasy spoon diner with David, with him going, I got an idea, and seeing him gradually building that story and my input about Bert and who Bert was, and it's wonderfully satisfying.
That was a very beautiful shot when she was looking over her shoulder, and they were both lit up like a Christmas tree. My favorite movies make me excited to live. And that's what Amsterdam is, and that's what we work to make it, due to the talent and brilliance of the actors and the crew and their willingness to collaborate.
The set every day, it felt like All-Star Weekend, I imagine. I'm in an All-Star game. I'm just sitting back and watching these masters go. Everybody's been nominated or won an Academy Award, and yet they were all there to service the film.
All right, here we go. Pictures up. Picture.
The experience of making this movie is like the movie, really charming and magical, propulsive and really fun.
This is a movie in the old-fashioned sense and in the new-fashioned sense. It's bold, it's epic, and it's visually stunning, and all of it's hitting you at the same time. The characters, the camera movement, the sets, the sound, it's all enveloping you. It's an experience.
Amsterdam.
Amsterdam.